Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Games Industry Executive Summary, cleverly abbreviated as GUIES. Despite the name on the video today, I am not Casey L. Casey, which those of you who are returning will probably be able to realize. I'm filling in for him, running the show today. So if you notice that the clips look wrong, if you notice that things take longer, it is only because of my general incompetence and nothing malicious. So, I have with me today the analyst, Manu Rosier, and Patrick Rose, for whom I do not have a clever sobriquet. However, welcome, guys. How are you doing?
Good, good. We have Rose and Rosier. It's funny. I always forget we're very close surnames.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. I just said both of them. I didn't really think about that. Does Rosier mean? What does Rosier mean?
It's the plant of the tree of the rose.
Okay, great. I need to
Interesting.
I need to get on that in some other language. Maybe
Hmm.
Italian or something. Uh, cool. Patrick, how you doing? It's been a little while since we've had you.
Yeah, I'm doing good. And a little fun fact, when I lived in France, the French people always called me Mr. Pink because rose in French is pink, apparently. So it's
Yeah,
not referring to the flower.
it's a reservoir dog story, maybe.
Yeah,
Reservoir
exactly.
dogs, Mr.
Maybe,
Pink.
yes. Maybe. I like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, awesome. So I think we are ready to get in, especially because it's been a big week in the world of video games. E3, of course, is long dead and buried, but we have, a mishmash of all kinds of other things approximating what the show used to be. And that was last week, Summer Games Fest and Xbox and Sony and Nintendo and all that. So let's get that moving. Manu, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we saw from the Xbox showcase, which was kind of our most recent one here.
Yeah. So PlayStation State of Play was the week before, so we
Oh,
we,
that's
we
right. Yeah,
got
yeah.
we got that covered. But then there was the Xbox event and the PC gaming event and summer game event fest. I mean, it's like much bigger than E3. Even it feels almost much bigger than
Yeah.
E3. So there are many things obviously that have happened. If we look at Microsoft and Xbox, I think you have to put that in parallel with other news. So first of all, they seem to be pulling away from multi-platform release. Certainly, PlayStation release. We will never know the truth, but it almost feels like the Gears of War game was pulled at the last minute from the PlayStation State of Play and also from a PlayStation 5 release. A lot of things are happening at the Xbox front. There's also this news that more layoffs are coming in July. So I think the new CEO is really shooting in many directions, rethinking about the strategy, rethinking about how to achieve that strategy, and yeah, it feels like the console wars are back somehow.
Yeah,
Um,
in some
that's
capacity.
which I mean I have mixed feelings about it because in a way it will push console makers to make quality games to make sure they pull the players towards their ecosystem, but at the same time you don't nobody wants to own two console, nobody wants to pay the high price because you can only play God of War on a PlayStation, for example. So quality might be higher, but it's probably end up being more expensive for the players that wants to try as many games as possible.
Patrick, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I love Gears of War. So I used to play a lot of Gears of War in the past, and I really love that game series. However, the new ones feel a little bit too colorful now. I'm not sure if it still feels like the old games. At the same time, maybe they are not innovating enough. And I feel this story is actually quite representative for what Microsoft is these days.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, so right, console wars are back or whatever. People are doing exclusives again. Do we think that let's be honest. Do we think that any of this can resuscitate Xbox?
I don't know. I mean, I was reading a bit online also about Halo, and I mean, Halo was a generational IP for so many people, mostly in the US, obviously. and it feels like a missed opportunity where when you look at the state of the Halo franchise right now. So there have been system sellers on the in the Xbox ecosystem, but it doesn't. It almost feel like that has been diluted by the Game Pass and also by all the other acquisition. You know, if you have when you have Call of Duty, when you have all the Bethesda games at the same times. Um, I don't know, like too much AAA almost feel like it's not so much of a big event anymore. Weird about why do we feel like God of War is like a triple A, quadruple A IP, but at the same time, many of the triple A IPs from Microsoft don't feel that way, and I'm not sure. I still feel there's something about Game Pass, the fact that you don't have to pay for the game, make it the value perceived is maybe lower. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think quality is a tricky thing made up of a tremendous lot of different things that you kind of take in all at once. Quality is a gut check thing, right? And Gears of War has always been like it's great. Love Gears of War, but we understand the difference. I think between there's something about the polish of the pacing and the rhythm and the visuals and the kind of the way that these Sony studios, Santa Monica and Naughty Dog, have managed to drive home this kind of very careful idea of this linear single player narrative showcase game. And they do it better than anyone else. And like I think that's kind of what you're responding to is it doesn't feel like there's anything missing from you. And this looks great. This is awesome. But it's just not perfect in that way. It's not complete. Or I mean, I haven't played this game. Obviously, I'm like this will probably be really good. It looks really good in Gears of War, but it's just there's something that Sony has nailed. I think about these kinds of showcase games that everyone else has struggled to do. And also, I just wonder, like, yeah, this is a great looking game. I would love to play this on PC. No way in hell would I buy a console to play this one great, awesome looking game. There's a lot of games out there. Like I'm gonna keep banging this drum that like exclusives cannot have the pull that they did in the era of like Halo dominance.
Mhm.
You know, we just have if you want to play like an incredible game, one of the best games you ever played, you can do so right now for $20 on most any platform. And graphical showcases just don't matter in the way they do. I mean, this is an incredible looking thing that we have there, but the power of a graphical showcase is clearly lessened.
So I just these days I talk a lot about what to do about this. So you're saying on the one hand the graphical showcase is awesome, but it's also not a USP anymore. This is not what sells the game now. But we are putting so much money into making these type of games that are having this graphical quality, that visual quality, and everything. So is it still worth it doing that? Shall we do something else with it? How do we get out of that?
I mean, it was a devil's bargain, you know. Like this is how we sold consoles for a really long time, and we've pushed it. I think these studios are in a really difficult position. Studios and publishers and platform holders, where this is what people expect. You buy a fancy console, you want a big, fancy looking thing. But the power of that has gone down, the cost of doing it has gone way up, and yet you're still in a position where you can't really give up on it because people like us expect that. And it's just a really, really it's just you're starting to make a thing which isn't worth what it used to be, but you still have.
Right. In my opinion, this is still a USP, having graphical quality like this. But the thing is, do we also need all the other things? What I'm seeing at the AAA game, in the AAA games, they are kind of repeating all the same features, open worlds, making the games bigger and sometimes 40 hours long, 50 hours long, often way too long because they're filled with stuff we don't really need in these games. I feel we put so many resources not only into that actual USP, which is the graphical fidelity, but also rather into a lot of other things we don't need in these games, which make them much more like a triple A mishmash of things, like not real USPs, you know.
I think that's a sort of a it sort of goes hand in hand with the way that these things are produced, right? The only way to make these things is with giant teams.
Mhm.
And giant teams are better geared at creating that kind of game than they are at creating a nice, tight, focused thing, you know?
Then again, this is something I recently started to challenge a lot. Do you really need giant games in order, giant teams in order to make games that look like this? Or do you only need them for a lot of other things in the game that we actually don't really need?
Hmm.
I don't know, there's a lot of assets there. Someone's got to make those assets.
Yeah. So what
Yeah.
I've seen, and I've been working in all these fields, right? I've been working with AAA. I have been working with hyper casual and such, and I'm seeing that in smaller projects, small teams can also achieve very high production values, often in very short amounts of time. I just feel like these old traditional business models are, well, too traditional, and they have never really learned to work in a way like newer studios do, newer business models do.
I think you have a chance to succeed even if you have a small team. But if you are a big team, you have no choice. You need to be successful. There is no, you cannot produce an average game anymore with a $100 million budget. That's I think the big problem. You know, you can be
Yeah.
lucky and pull a Expedition 33 and then make it look like a triple A. But if you spend the money, it needs to come, and that's also why they take so little risk with the big budget. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
but I think like these budgets are way too big these days. If I were the producer of a triple A game these days, and I have a little bit more freedom here, I would say let's make a like a 4 hour, 5 hours experience, laser focus on real cool stuff with high quality graphics, and I only need 10 or 20 millions for that, and not 100 million,
Hmm.
and then test that out.
Yeah. I think the issue is the ship just doesn't turn around all that quick. And
Exactly.
clearly,
Yeah.
if you fire everyone, then the ship becomes a little lighter and you can turn it around easier. To perhaps belabor this metaphor, but like this is what this machine is built to make, and yeah, it could be changed, but it requires tremendous effort, and it's unclear if what you get on the other side is going to be anything better at making those smaller experiences than all of the dozens upon dozens of studios that are kind of native to this new industry.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
So hard to say.
But yeah, but and just beside this discussion, I think there's so much more that's going to come from on the Xbox side. I think there's also another piece of news about the Project Helix, and like
Yeah,
very weird to have announced this project and at the same time coming back. Oh, by the way, we just realized that the hardware is going to be very expensive, so maybe we need to change our plans. And there was also the CEO saying we need to find a way to share the cost of a console. I don't know what it means. You know, does it mean that they need to have some streaming box? But why would streaming box work right now? Maybe the only reason it would work is because a non-streaming box becomes too expensive. Other than that, there's nothing that has changed in the behavior of the gamers. They're like, yeah, no, I need to play via streaming. I think you only play via streaming because when you don't have other choice. Um, and yeah, so I'm curious to see what it means, but from a purely timeline of communication, it's a bit weird to have rushed the announce of the Project Helix while right now there are some hardware issues that have been there for a while.
yeah. I don't think anyone should be releasing new consoles. Nintendo can do whatever they want, obviously, but
Mhm.
like I don't think PS6 and Xbox Helix are both in trouble already, just by sort of definition. But that's that console wars. We have another console maker which has always decided not to participate in the console wars, which is Nintendo, and they talked about that last week as well. I'm going to go over to a little direct right here. What we're looking at right now is Onimusha, which we got a good little teaser of that going. I'm excited to see this come back. I mean, people have been sort of talking about this reboot for a long time now, but I think it's a good moment for it. It fits that kind of modern action RPG super well. But yeah, so the Nintendo. What else did we see? We saw a ton of JRPGs, which I don't know a ton about. So if anyone wants to talk about those, Xenoblade, Kingdom Rush, and Stellar Blade coming, and that kind of thing that always kind of makes up a big bulk of Nintendo Direct. But I'm super excited about stuff like this because, like, so I recently I flew on an airplane, which is it's like a train but with wings, and it goes in the sky. And I often like to sort of save single player games for one thing where I have a lot of focus. And I played Pragmata on the Switch 2, which is generally, it's a modern multi-platform AAA game, the kind of thing that I generally wouldn't be playing on the Switch. And it worked super well, actually. And I think that multi-platform releases have never been a big thing for Nintendo. But I've seen that picking up a little bit, to be honest. I think that they're definitely taking a focus on that, but in the directs and that kind of thing. And I think they might be able to make hay with that because if you're going to play something like Pragmata on the go, it's got to be Steam Deck or this basically. There's of course a range of other like Android-based handhelds and all that kind of stuff, but the big ones, man, this looks great. Super cool graphics in this. This is Dragon's Dogma now. Very Shadow of the Colossus right there. But yeah, the like as far as like general mass market options, you're talking about Switch 2 and you're talking about Steam Deck, and Switch 2 remains just more approachable from a mass market way because it's Nintendo and people know what it is. I know. I think they might be able to make this work, which I'm always doubting if it's going to work, but I think it might. Switch 2 is a great way to play this kind of game right here. So we had that, and then of course we had the Ocarina remake announcement. Just a little tease. But I think I'm super excited about the concept of this. I doubt that I'll play it. This is like a super. This game is foundational to my childhood, and I don't know that I can. I don't know if you can go home again. Tom Wolfe and I disagree on this point, maybe sometimes, but in this case, I don't know. Yeah. Patrick, what are your thoughts on this?
On the whole Nintendo thing, well, I think these games play very well on Nintendo Switch. I played Cyberpunk on Switch, and that works so well. It doesn't feel like I'm missing out on something. It just feels like the actual experience. And that at the same time, I feel also puts Nintendo in that position that it almost participates in console wars eventually, because you said before they are not really participating, but the more they feel and look like other consoles or handhelds out there, the more they are automatically in these wars as well, I think. And that eventually might be the challenge for Nintendo, still remaining a distinct console while kind of starting to participating in these console wars. What do you think about that?
I think they need to be to ship the games day one like the other platform, because for me it always feel like, oh, I'm not gonna buy a Switch to play the games that I played 2 years ago on another platform. So I think this is really critical. Otherwise, it appeals to Nintendo people that have been kind of sensitive to the Nintendo IPs at some point in their life. I've not really been that kind of person, so I don't care about a Zelda that's just the same as just a remake. And I know they have an audience big enough, right? But it's just how can they at some point will they need to convert the non-Nintendo audience to coming to a Switch? And I still don't think that's possible at this point.
Interesting. But I think that you could get a lot of Nintendo audience people, which is super broad, right? This includes families. This includes people that bought it basically just for Switch Sports or for Mario Kart, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you can push those people towards some of these multi-platform releases, which are now kind of viable and cool. And like you're going to see them in the shop and just kind of consider them in a way that you hadn't before, you know? And I think that is where because again, a lot of people got Switches, right? And I think that's where they can see the growth, not necessarily from getting the PS5 person who is going to be playing Onimusha on PS5 anyways, but getting the person that wouldn't have been playing Onimusha otherwise and playing it on Switch too. Maybe they played that kind of thing back in the day, but they're older now and Switch, they have a Switch for their family and they think, I don't know. This is cool. Let's try that.
But a lot of announcements, and I mean, there were rumors that the dev kits for the Switch 2 didn't arrive on time, or there was limited supply of that, so that's maybe we
Yeah.
didn't see so many of these third-party games being released at launch. It feels like there's been sort of a dip in the release slate of the Switch 2, the exclusive release slate on the Switch 2. I know it's
Yeah, that's
picking up.
right.
The big one is obviously oh my god, the Disney Square game. What is it again? Number 4.
Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah. That, I think there was not even a rumor about that. I don't know if you had heard anything. So it was kind of a secret, well kept. Yeah, interesting to see that kind of exclusive from Capcom now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Kingdom Hearts people are going to show up for Kingdom Hearts. It's never been something that I really played with, but I know that the fans are complete. They are going to play it wherever.
Yeah, and the other thing is that let's keep an eye on the pricing of the Switch 2, because so far I think the Switch one for many maybe younger player was the cheapest way to play most of their games. They need a console to play multi-platform games, and they go on the Switch. So we have to be sure that the Switch 2 doesn't come too close to the price of a PlayStation 5 or even a Steam Deck. Steam Deck is probably not going to open when you see the price increase of the Steam Decks. I don't know if we talk about that. I don't.
Yeah, that's a hell of a price increase. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, this is Kairosoft. I thought this might be Kairosoft, this One Piece game. That I'm excited. I like Kairosoft. I played it the little games on my phone. I want to see what they can do with just a little more, just a little more action.
Yeah, the video game one is really good from Kairosoft.
Yeah. That's just something about those idle games. They really nailed it. It's like those old Majesty games, except in a mobile. And we got some more Pokopia here. I was super into Pokopia. Really liked that. And this is exciting. Obviously, being underwater is opens up the world of both building and different Pokemon. Yeah. But anyways, moving on.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I also wanted to say, as a working for New Zealand, where you're like, okay, what's 2026 going to be? And you look at what released last year and what's released this year, and a lot of the focus has been on GTA 6, obviously. It's like everything depends on GTA 6. But when you see all the games that are now being announced and going to be released still in 2026, many of them in September, and it's looking like a very strong year again, in both in terms of quality and quantity, and that's not stopping. There are many games that are being cancelled, but there's still so many games. You have Resident Evil Code Veronica remake that's coming. The rhythm of release is just insane, and yeah, it feels saturated market from a supply perspective, which is good for the players, but at the same time it's almost exhausting to really decide what game you're going to play, because it is just every week there are so many good games being released. So very challenging for the publisher and the studio to get their share of voice.
Yeah. No, it's not everyone's going to come out of this season winning, right? It's going to be tough, and maybe I don't think it's impossible that you could see GTA 6 have an uplifting effect on other things. Yes, everyone's going to be busy playing GTA 6. However, I mean, Red Dead was like a 25, 30-hour campaign, something like that. And that's not like infinite. We do not know their online plans yet. And I think it is still totally possible that people just come out of that jazzed about the idea of AAA game and buy another one. I think that is quite possible from that. And, that's what we want to see. We want to see people returning to buying games, because GTA 6 will stomp on things, but it's not a live service game. I don't know. I'm hopeful from that perspective that there could be room for other people.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about Destiny 2. That's our unless Patrick, you got any final thoughts on this project, on this Nintendo situation?
No, I'm good.
All right, cool. All right, Destiny 2. Destiny 2 hits its 2-year peak. Good job, Destiny 2, beating Marathon's record, which is but it's tough. Everything's tough over there in outside of Seattle, wherever it is those guys are. And so what's happening here is that Destiny, they're closing Destiny down, obviously, and they've released a final content patch after which this is going to be maintenance phase. And the thing is, like, I've seen really, really positive things people are saying about this final thing, which is lovely. It's always nice to have good gameplay, but of course also sad because we've been doing Destiny now for 10 years, and the people I'm talking to that have a lot of positive relationships with it is this has been a huge part of their lives, and now this is it, and that's too bad. On the other side, Marathon also not taking off. I mean, obviously, Destiny 2, this peak is not going to be sustained. This is just sort of a farewell party. Marathon's in trouble too, though. So this is it's a tough thing over there at Bungie. Mono, any thoughts here?
Yeah. So they've also made it clear that there is no Destiny 3 in the works. And it feels like the money is to be made on the Destiny fan base rather than Marathon.
Yeah.
Marathon, the way Marathon is designed, I know it's about extraction shooter, but it feels more of the niche side of the extraction shooter. And we also see, Arc Raiders had an amazing few months, but it's also losing a little bit of steam right now. I don't know. I don't know if if it's the right move to choose Marathon over the Destiny brand. I would say, from a pure commercial potential of all of that.
Yeah, I mean, people are demanding Destiny 3. It's always the question of, like, do the number of people that are demanding it actually justify the development budget, and will they actually show up in the long term? But it's tough. I mean, people love Destiny, and a lot, so many people have come through it through the years. It had such a big presence in the industry, both just in terms of people talking about it and the sort of influence it had, defining this era of live service, especially on console. So I don't know. I feel like people are being a little quick to dismiss the idea of continuing this franchise.
Yeah.
What you got?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of comparing Destiny with what is the name now?
Marathon.
Thank you. Since they are in completely different states. And if it comes to service games or free-to-play games or anything like that, it's usually things start off small. It's always small. It's like an MVP. What we see in the beginning is an MVP of service games. And then it has to grow bigger because it does need the structure for user engagement, user retention, and especially monetization. And it takes time to build all that. It would be not very smart to try to put it all into the first iteration of these service games because there would be too many resources wasted on that. So you want to test early on, even if it's like a AAA service game, you want to test as early as possible and then build it bigger and bigger and bigger. So of course, a game like Destiny has much more structure for retention, engagement, and monetization in it in comparison to Marathon, which is so much earlier in its lifetime. So this comparison, I know people want to do it, and I understand where they're coming from, but from a product viewpoint, as a product manager, I got to say, this doesn't make a lot of sense. So we still have to give Marathon the chance here. I do see issues with Marathon. I'm not sure if they will ever manage to get there, since the structure of the game has a bunch of difficulties there. But it's the comparison at this state is not great. That's my opinion on that.
But if you compare Marathon launch with Destiny launch, Destiny 2 launch, or the Division launch, that's not the same category, right? That's not the same impact on the market. So the ramp up, the excitement. Destiny was a success from day one, and I know Destiny is such a different beast probably compared to the day one Destiny. Even Overwatch, Overwatch day one. These games were instantly successful, and for Marathon, they don't have that thing, and yeah, they can still turn things around, but they are not starting from the best position. That's
Yes,
the challenge.
and I think that has to do. Well, I see it like there is premium games, regular traditional premium games, and then there are service games which are more like free to play games. In fact, right? And we are now looking at two different business models here, which are mixed together in both of these games. And yes, the premium game launch of Destiny was much stronger because it was so much of a traditional premium game, as we know from Halo and so on, these kind of games at that time. And the focus was so much more on story, on a big audience and everything, while now Marathon has it a little bit more difficult on that side. And that is much more of a regular free-to-play-ish strategy, still with a premium tag on it. And well, it didn't work well on the premium side, yeah, I think for them, but they still have the chance to make this game big. And how I see it, it does not really matter how a free-to-play-ish or service game starts. It matters how it looks like in 2 to 3 years, or at least in like, let's say 6 to 12 months. That is a very important time. But the first 6 months is more like about testing, starting off. It is a privilege for Destiny that they had so much success up front, but that was also one of the biggest risks eventually, because this is what they built it for, to have that success early on. But if they hadn't had that success early on, then all these other 10 years would have been lost as well. And this is exactly what we're also seeing with games like what was a big failure called again now, the Sony failure, Concord, yeah, exactly. They also built for that premium success. They couldn't reach that because it was just too generic. If they just release it maybe free to play, just build an MVP, release it even much earlier, and then test it out, maybe it would have been like a 10-year success story eventually. So that's how I see things. We got to separate the premium side of things from the service game side of things, I believe.
But you still got a brand, right? And I feel like Bungie is attached to a premium brand. And I just don't know how people are going to respond to Bungie releasing something that is functionally an early access game,
Mm-hmm.
something which like is
And
usually the sphere of smaller teams, right?
I think brands are often very toxic for service games. It's not
Yeah,
necessarily a smart idea to start off with a brand, because you limit your audience right
but
away.
they have to have a brand. They are Bungie. They can't not be Bungie.
That's the thing. I mean, I think there would be different setups. If you were really, really smart about your product strategy and everything, maybe we say we have like a sub Bungie, which is not called Bungie, and maybe people don't even recognize it as Bungie right away. So you're not like in that Bungie jail of expectations, and then you can just try out things with that kind of sub company, whatever that would be, sub team that is creating something different, detached from Bungie. So I believe if we just understood these business models better, we would also understand what kind of teams we have to build and what kind of company structures we have to build in order to keep the expectations low and start with new IPs small that are not directly attached to Bungie.
Still, I don't know. But then you're just in the pit with everyone else, right? Which is famously
Yes.
difficult.
Yes, but this is also where you can start with low risk. If you're in the pit with everyone else, you can test out on the market. Nobody cares if you fail. Then you test the next thing 3 months later and so on. And that is actually how service games truly survive. And this is how you can create low risk, high quality service games, like putting them out there early instead of wasting 200 million on nothing. This costs only 5 to 10 million. And this is what they could do. And they could do that like 10 times. And you had 10 chances to create that 10-year brand instead of only one and then losing 200 million. So I believe we have to rethink these business models a lot in the industry. And that might be one of the ways out, to rethinking these traditional business models. Sorry, strong opinion here.
No, I'm interested. Mono, any thoughts?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, but I do worry about this idea that like you have getting attention is the major challenge of the entire cultural industry right now. Video games, everything. Getting anyone to care about what you're making, whether you're Gears of War, whether you're a tiny indie team, getting attention is incredibly difficult. And it is difficult to imagine that you have a tool to overcome that hurdle that you would simply not use.
Yeah, well, I've had this discussion a few times, and we also found solutions on what you're saying now. Just unfortunately, that's not our topic today. But I would love to talk about this 2 more hours.
Yeah, well, I mean, the goal is to try and eat your cake and have it too, to quote Ted Kaczynski. But anyways, and anyone else has any final thoughts? We'll move on. So we have an interesting thing. We're not necessarily spending too much time with the Steam top CCUs, but the very fact that we have in the past spent a lot of time with the Steam's top CCUs is kind of the topic of this, which is talking about Taskbar Hero, which is an idle game that sits on your taskbar as per the name, which is really tearing up those Steam charts. Which is like, why is it doing that? Is it because it's the most popular and awesome thing in the world? Like, I looked at it a little bit. Clearly, it's fine. Because CCUs are a very visible, very public facing KPI that anyone sees and people do pay a lot of attention to. The idea of an idle game that lots of people just have running all the time is a kind of an interesting way to game that and to draw attention to yourself, just kind of based off the very structure of what you're doing. So I think it's an interesting thing, and we've seen people game metrics, since the dawn of metrics. But we haven't seen that many people game this particular metric, and maybe that's going to start happening soon. Mono, what do you think?
I think it's a very smart game in many ways. The fact that it sits on your computer, but you don't even have to do Alt Tab or anything like that. You can just do everything you want. You just have in a corner. You see the fighters fighting in an automated way, but you can also interact to adjust their leveling them up, adjusting their equipment and their weapons and things like that. So there is a light touch. It's not like a clicker game. There is a light touch of management, like an RPG basically, and it's free, but you can buy a few characters. And ultimately, if you want to spend money, you can spend 10 euro, $10 on that one. So there's been feedback that a lot of these concurrent players might just be bots farming for items for the Steam marketplace.
Yeah,
But I
whatever.
think,
It's fine.
yeah, it's just fun to have that around. It's a
Yeah.
low effort little game. You're earning gold while you're not playing. So there is an offline mode, offline progression. So yeah, once you have it, you just keep it there, and yes, you're part of the CCU. So I think it's quite interesting, and people they love recalls, right? Everybody's tired to see Counter Strike, Dota 2, and PUBG at the top. So we like when there is a newcomer, and this one is quite smart, I think, in its approach, and yeah, it's funny. It's funny, and it's distracting a little bit when you're just doing other stuff than playing on your computer. I don't see how that can be released on console, but I think on mobile it would be also.
Yeah, but on mobile, it would have to be different, right? It's
Yeah,
very native to a
yeah,
traditional desktop display, which is what works about it, right? It incorporates itself into
yeah.
your boring other workflows. If idle games held no appeal and no psychological pull for people, we would see a hell of a lot fewer.
hmm But that one is kind of there is a progression. There is clearly a
Yeah.
progression. You are leveling up, so it's kind of.
I mean, a good idle game should have that, right? I think a lot of people are dismissive of the design behind idle games, but they do. You got to design them. You have to give people that sense of satisfaction,
Yeah,
even in that context. Patrick.
yeah.
So, what we're seeing here is the rule of accessibility. We are seeing this for many years now in our research teams. And there was that quote, which I bring up also for many years already, by Morten Just. He used to be a product designer at Google many years ago. I don't know what he's doing now, but at that time he said, "Your UI is your product's humble compensation for not being telepathic." And all products we're using are moving that direction. They become more and more accessible. So, meaning first we played only our games on console and everything. Then later we played mobile games so much more than we play console and PC games because it's just so much easier to play. We play more Candy Crush than we play Dark Souls. And it's also making more money than Dark Souls and such. And now this is just one of the next steps. Things become more accessible. These type of games are already successful for a while in Asia, by the way, especially Korea and China, from what I know. And they will now also coming over here. A lot of people will make these type of games now, which are hyper accessible because you use your computer all day long, and this is something you can control on the side. And real gamers will call them casual games, but actually these games will become deeper and deeper and deeper. So if you want to be in front of this new trend, then you should already think of a very deep version, very complex, hardcore version of this highly accessible game type, and you will win. That's what we're seeing. So that's my opinion on these type of games. And yes, it just makes sense by the rules of the games industry. Things are complex first and only the nerds play them. Then these same complex things become more and more accessible for everyone else. And accessibility is always bigger than engagement eventually. And then the engagement follows, meaning the complexity of the game and so on. That's what I see.
So you're saying we start with nerds, we move to normies, and then nerdification moves over everyone.
Every time, in every genre, everything worked like that. When we guys, us core players, started playing games, we played casual games or we played hardcore games casually. And then we became nerds. It's always like this. And we also see it with different patterns. We saw it with roguelike genre, which was when I worked at Bandai Namco like 8 years ago or so. We said this is never going to be mainstream. This is never going to be AAA or so. This is niche for hardcore players. Now everyone is playing roguelikes. We have Vampire Survivors can be played by everyone, but there's still the depths and the difficulty of an actual roguelike. So we see these patterns. So when you see a new genre popping up now, which is casual now, in 5 to 10 years, it will be hardcore, and everyone is going to play it. And the other way around. Okay, it's kind of like mixing into every kind of genre you're seeing there. If it's a casual thing, it will become hardcore soon. If it's a hardcore thing, it will become casual soon as well for a main audience.
So we're going to get Taskbar Dark Souls.
Yes,
or
actually,
Taskbar Demon Souls, if that's the progression.
I use that as an example in my workshops on accessibility. What would a Dark Souls game look like if it only were playable on one finger controls in portrait mode on your mobile phone? With the same depth, the same intensity of a Souls-like game, but you can only play it with one finger. What would you design? And that is the next big game.
And we've seen people play Dark Souls with a banana, so it should be possible.
It is. Yeah. Well.
Yeah. Okay. Any final thoughts on Taskbar Hero and sort of idle games and that kind?
Curious to see if it will fade away quickly or if it's here to stay.
I will say I'm making one. I was making it before Taskbar Hero blew up. Taskbar Hero was more kind of a proof of concept, but stay tuned.
Yeah. Make it multiplayer. So
I think the next multiplayer.
Nice. So if these kind of games want to stay, they need to go the next steps. And that is multiplayer, that is more depth in the meta game, that is maybe even clans and such. And just keep it as accessible as they are, but add all these layers and then monetize them. You will be rich.
Yeah, ours is going to be async multiplayer. I don't know, maybe we can make it pretty soon because we've got some good coder working on it. Nice. Okay, moving on. Mono, why don't you take us through this sort of Steam Machine Helix discussion?
Yeah, I mean, there's not that much to say, and we already talked about Project Helix, but so there seems to be a date or a moment where the Steam machines will be released, and I think it's around July, if I remember. Summer. Yeah, summer can be September too. Let's see what happens. So it looks like they decided that they will go for it. We don't know about the price yet. I think we should have low expectations. I mean, high expectation of a high price.
Yeah, 1,000 at least. But maybe that is low.
Yeah. So I think anything below $1,000 is probably going to be a good surprise. But then you're like, who's gonna pay $1,000 for that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather just play on my current PC. Again, I think one of the issues here is that the living room overall is a little bit deprecated. Like it's not where people it's not the only place where people play AAA games anymore. I still play Switch in the living room all the time because that's a family thing. But I don't know, whatever. I have other ways of playing that. And I think a lot of people that are interested in it do still.
And is $1,000 going to be the entry point for playing video games? That's
Yeah.
also what will happen. It feels shocking, but it feels like 3 weeks ago we were at $400, $500 for a new gen console. So yeah, things are going very fast and they are not improving, right? I mean, some people say that from 2027 we should have price increase slowing down, but there is no proof of that.
Well, and also like you can't predict
No.
you can't predict all of the problems which will almost definitely occur. Like someone's going to invade someone. We're here at the fall of the Western Empire, and it makes video games more expensive.
Yeah, and if AI deliver the potential some people think it will, I think the cost of video game will be the last of the worries we need to have
Yeah, exactly.
in the society.
Yeah.
I also wonder if price is actually the true issue here. So even if there was the PlayStation 6 or so announced now, and it's only $200, and graphics are even better than PS5 and so on, but if anything, then it's only the graphics that would improve, right? So what else is there to improve? But then again, I mean, games these days don't really look better than 5 years ago. Why would I purchase that? So my biggest issue with buying a new console is actually the fact that there is a new piece of technology which I have to connect to my to my TV, and then I have all the garbage laying around and everything. It feels like more of a burden to me to purchase a console in the first place rather than the money going with it, and I don't see the additional benefits anymore from it. Maybe that's just me, I don't know, but I think this is the kind of issue we are facing. There's not enough of a benefit from purchasing a new console.
Absolutely. I mean, the only reason would be the increase of quality of life improvement, like SSD was, the loading time of games. Yeah, or just use of new features, but network is not going to be faster. You just
Yeah.
Well, we discussed also the number of frames per second. There's a human limit to that. The number of polygon and yeah, there's just
Honestly,
minimal.
more frames is nice, but we get used to that
Yeah.
so quickly. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't make games more engaging or better. And for the loading times on PS5, I don't see any problems except for James Bond, the new James Bond game I'm playing right now. First Light, for any reason, has very, very long loading times. That is annoying. But all the other games out there, I
Yeah.
don't feel loading times anymore.
No, exactly. But that was not the case for the PS4. That was the
Yeah,
huge step.
yeah.
But now that one has been fixed. So no, there's nothing less left. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough out there. I see the hardware situation becoming more and more diffuse, because like it's just hard for anyone to draw much attention to themselves and say this is the thing you need for this reason. It's going to look a lot more like PCs.
Yeah.
But honestly, is that a bad thing? Is it a bad thing that we don't need to purchase hardware every 4 years anymore?
Yeah, no, I'm cool. I'm good with
It's
that.
a bad thing for capitalism.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. Just put that money into making games instead, and then we'll have too many games, and the game studios will fail.
Yeah.
Again, I blame this on the fall of the Western Empire and the slow crumbling of the foundations of capitalistic society. That's that. But aside from that,
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are almost at our hour. We got a couple quick items at the bottom here, which are kind of fun. So 007 First Light obviously doing super well. It is currently on my desktop. Perhaps I will play it after this. I have not yet, but I'm excited about Love IOI. But it is like classic Amazon shit that they are like, this sold well, we're super happy. But we'll probably get our own studios to make it next time. And like this is why these big companies struggle, is because they just don't understand that this is the entertainment industry. It's like, do you guys think that the success of this game might have something to do with the people that made it? Possibly.
Yeah. I think it's probably going mostly about publishing the game, because I think it's self-published right now. I'm not sure
Yeah,
they
it
will
is.
take the license from IO.
They hinted that they want Amazon Game Studios to make the next game.
Maybe they will buy.
I mean, I think that maybe even they are not that stupid to knock this good thing that's happening to them.
Yeah.
But here's what I think, that like, let's say, game it out. They often say that like the big shift in tone in James Bond, there's a lot of reasons, Bourne Ultimatum, things like that. But Austin Powers is a big part of it, because it skewered that old kind of silly Bond so effectively. They're like, we just can't really do this anymore. So I think, let's say IOI loses that license, I think they should go after the Austin Powers license and turn their James Bond franchise into an Austin Powers franchise. Mm-hmm. This is my hot take for today. Mm-hmm. We're seeing Mina the Hollower doing well. That is another game that I have purchased but not played. Excited about that. I've been playing too much Dynasty Warriors. This is my issue. But I'm excited to dive into that thing. It seems like one of those. Yacht Club is great. We talked about this a little bit last week, I think. We're also seeing the Avatar RPG is possibly dead, which I would not be surprised, because this has just been a brutally mismanaged IP. From start to finish. But it's one of those classic things where you have lightning in a bottle. They made an incredible piece of art, and they have really, really struggled to do shit with it since.
The last piece of news maybe for this week is the fact that college football is going to release on PC, which is interesting because Madden is not on PC.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I wonder what goes into that decision. College football is on a longer cycle. I think, right? It's like every couple of years instead of every year, like Madden.
No. It has been in hiatus for many years, and it's been brought back 2 years ago. But now it's
exactly. Yeah, but even they brought it back 2 years ago, and they didn't release another one the next year. Is sort of what I'm saying.
Yeah. Now it's becoming a yearly one. So they have two.
It is becoming yearly, and I wonder. I have no idea why do you think they're doing that? Why is it going on PC?
I don't know why they go on PC for that one instead of Madden. Maybe because the audience is a bit younger. I don't know.
Yeah, super interesting.
Good question. But we can be sure that if it's half a success on PC, then they will have Madden on PC too.
Yeah, exactly. Is FIFA on PC?
Yeah.
FIFA guy. Or whatever the hell it's called. Interesting. All right. Well, that's the world of video games here on 6/11/2026. American date there. Patrick, Mondo, any thoughts on anything really at all?
Yeah, sometimes I have thoughts on something. I think I'm very much looking forward to playing the Ocarina of Time remake. I just want to say that.
Yeah. How old are you, Patrick?
That's a personal question. 37 now.
Yeah. Okay, actually, so Ocarina still hits right in your childhood then, because I think with so many of these things, you can, because games move so quickly for so long, you can really, people who are even 2-3 years different in age are going to have a very different gaming childhood. So I always think it's an interesting thing to gauge how you grew up with games.
The thing is, my sister, Gen Z, right? I think both of you have met her, and she is also grown up with Ocarina of Time. I think she's 24 now, and she played it on 3DS, mainly because I showed it to her at that time, and I told her she has to play it, otherwise she's not part of the family anymore. But I feel like maybe a lot of people actually discovered Ocarina of Time at some point because Nintendo kept kind of releasing it somehow, somewhere.
Yeah, they did. I mean, it's I mean, it's just such a striking game. I feel like what this is going to be is probably, remember they showed us that first demo of what later became the Wind Waker at E3, but it was done in this realistic art style, this GameCube fight between Ganon and Link, and I feel like this is sort of this is going to look like that, you know. All right, that's what we got. That is the week. If you've made it this far, don't forget to like and to subscribe and to do whatever kind of positive reinforcement the robots appreciate today. And that's it. Good seeing you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.